Time Skimmer initiated. Chrono systems online. Entering time stream.
Welcome back to another edition of Time Skimmer. In this episode, we will be covering everything. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so there's these two old guys who are fighting over whose turn it is to be famous, and Dr. Wily invents the switch, which he swears will make every robot really strong and really fast, but then Dr. Light says it's a stupid idea, so he insists that they make all robots really smart instead, and basically everyone agrees, so Wily gets pissed off and rage quits robotics for a few decades or something. Dr. Light makes a robot kid who says, "Screw you, Dad," and walks out on him as he slowly dies of heart failure before getting picked up by Dr. Wily again, who fixes him, but not really, and gives him another busted-ass power core. In the meantime, Dr. Light says, "Guess I'll make another one," and pumps out rock and roll, and then pats himself on the back for this hilarious pun. Rock is his new son, and Roll is his daughter, and they basically help Dad as he works on 6 more robots who are gonna be like so good at doing stuff, like cutting down trees and building houses and stuff. But then bitter-ass Wily comes around and he's like, "Wow, mighty fine robot you got there. It would be a shame if someone stole them and made them evil." And then he does exactly that, and somehow nobody on Earth can stop him for whatever reason, until a literal 10-year-old volunteers to get strapped and goes to bust a cap in his ass, and then calls himself Mega Man now. 6 ass cappings later, and Rock rolls up to Wily's place and he's like, "You better not," and Wily is like, "I definitely am," and runs the hell away after getting beat by a little kid. Wily is butthurt again and makes 8 new robots of his own, based on what he learned from the first couple he stole, but Mega Man reloads his piece and takes them all out again. Wily does this like a million friggin' times in different ways, sometimes involving international political blackmail, or, you know, fun pretend costumes, a tournament arc, and then somehow gets aliens involved at some point, angry purple farts, repeating his first plan again, and something about a robot virus because everyone's free trial of Norton ran out. Then all of a sudden, Wily remembers that he invented the Nintendo Switch, and puts it inside all of his robots, and it makes them stupidly powerful or stupidly fast, but he only has one Joy-Con for each, so they all get clapped by Mega Man who uses both gears at once, which for some reason Wily never thought to do. Somewhere along the line, these old dudes realize that they're pretty frickin' old and start working on their best creations ever, or rather Dr. Light did when he made X, and then Dr. Wily copied off his homework, maybe, and made Zero and gave him boobies and hair, 2 things Dr. Wily never had in life. Both dudes frickin' die after hiding away their top secret totally awesome robots, and then nobody knows what happened after that until another old guy named Dr. Kane digs up X like 100 years later, and is like, "What if I were to copy X's designs and pass them off as my own?" Ho ho ho, delightfully devilish, Dr. Kane. And so he skips through the terms and service agreement of X and proceeds to immediately make like so many Reploids, but despite doing his best to copy X exactly, X is such a special little baby boobop that Dr. Kane couldn't perfectly replicate some of this stuff and filled in the blanks with good intentions and duct tape. For some reason, a bunch of Reploids start going crazy, so the robot Popo get involved to go take care of this new epidemic of Reploids turning maverick because it's too dangerous for humans to do it. Somewhere along the line, Sigma gets made and he's either the first Reploid ever made or the best Reploid ever made, depending on who you ask. And no, there isn't an answer for this. The people who make the games legit change their mind at some point, and none of it matters anyway. All you gotta know is that Sigma is the friggin' man, but he's bald as fuck. A bunch of losers found some sort of signal or something coming out of a strange warehouse. It got murked by Zero, and then they called Big Daddy Sigma to come in and bail them out. So he shows up and he's like, "Stand aside, ladies," and then proceeds to get his cheeks clapped by Zero so hard that the sheer adrenaline gives him a headache while he was teabagging Sigma. But Zero wasn't ready for the wake-up super and gets laid out by Sigma, who was like, "I'm so friggin' awesome that this guy must have been cheating, so take him back to the lab and get him studied." Zero wakes up with no memory and is a good little precious bean now, and joins the Maverick Hunters. Like, right after this, however, Sigma and all the other Maverick Hunters start team killing because Sigma is evil now, and the other hunters f with that Sigma male energy. Meanwhile, X and Zero are like, "This sucks, man," and then they go kick the crap out of an entire ass zoo before closing in on this Baldi's Basics looking loser's crib. Along the way, X finds out that his dad is Santa Claus and gave him some serious strip before sending him on his way. X and Zero show up to Sigma's place, but Zero was like, I gotta go use the bathroom," and then leaves you to take care of everything. But it's okay because he comes back later and uses the martyrdom perk to blow himself up and takes ass Vile with him, who's blocking the way, leaving X as the last one on their team. He beats Vile with the power of God and anime and makes it all the way to Sigma and wins the victory royale and is sad about it for a bit, but then gets over it because he remembers that he gets to ride a motorcycle in the next game. X is basically badass number 1 and is chasing around these 3 Zero fanboys who each have a part of X's homie. So he makes a few more animals go on the endangered list and manages to collect all the parts of his Build-A-Figure and put Zero back together where they close in and beat the crap out of Zero's fan club, and then Sigma, who reveals that he's actually a super elite hacker and is a virus the whole time, Nobody cares, and Sigma gets shot to death again anyway. Now that X and Zero are reunited and it feels so good, Dr. Doppler is working on a vaccine to cure this whole Maverick thing that's been going on, but it turns out the vaccine is actually just spreading the virus around to everyone who got it. Whoops, what a twist. X and Zero beat up more animals and get their friends Bit and Bite, who may as well be named Frickin' Frack because they're dumb as hell, but then Vile shows up, new and improved, but he takes a dirt nap like usual, swearing he's going to be a recurring character in this franchise. X makes it a Doppler, who turns out got turned Maverick himself and wasn't in control of his own actions, so he gives X Sigma's IP address and sends him on his way to go kill him. X does, but Sigma was a load-bearing boss and causes the whole place to fill up with lava. When they get to the top, the lava is nice and decides to stop for some reason. Sigma is like, dumbass, I told you I was a virus, but then Zero shows up and installs Avast and deletes Sigma for good maybe, but probably not. For some reason, humans are stupid and make an entire army of Reploids, despite the fact that everything bad that has ever happened so far is because there was a giant army of Reploids. But anyway, Repliforce gets framed for destroying whatever the hell a Sky Lagoon is. X and Zero asks them, hey, have you got a license for that terrorism? But Colonel is literally crying and shaking right now that they would even accuse Repliforce of doing something so bad, despite the fact that their logo is on all of the robots at the scene of the crime. He rage quits and leaves, and then goes to declare war with General, who is just the biggest friggin' Reploid ever. Iris, Zero's girlfriend, comes back to the Hunter HQ because she knows Zero will beat Colonel in a 1v1, and then Zero ends up killing Colonel anyway, which triggers Iris. Zero goes up to space and finds Iris holding a giant grape-flavored Flintstones gummy, which makes her swole AF. But Zero beats her despite her gains, and she tells Zero that they wish that they could have committed war crimes together instead of dying. Zero becomes a meme and bumps into General, who's too damn big, and whacks him in the head a bunch before he explodes. And then they both realize the giant death laser that they are standing inside of is a giant death laser, and Sigma is about to fire it. Zero runs into Sigma, who tries to cancel Zero by bringing up tweets from like 12 years ago when he was a Maverick, so Zero just kills him. General becomes the Iron Giant and throws himself into the core of the final weapon, making it explode in a sad FMV sequence. Sigma comes back in X5 though and trolls the Maverick Hunters by farting with reverb and covering the entire planet with Maverick virus. Dynamo, Sigma's new lackey, watched a lot of Gundam and then sends a space colony towards Earth. X-Zero break into the home of 8 new Reploids and steal their stuff, which might be able to power up a giant f***-off laser cannon or a space shuttle they can use to crash into Eurasia, because Alia watched the movie Armageddon with Bruce Willis and thought that was a great idea. So the colony crashes anyway, but it's more or less pwned based on your RNG, but in any case, there's a sweet rave party in the crash site, and then X and Zero finally have their first fight as a married couple for some reason, and then Sigma comes back to brag about it, but he gets clapped again anyway. Zero is dead, but X keeps his saber as a souvenir, and then everyone has a stroke and can't tell if it's been 3 months or 3 weeks later, but some spooky stuff starts to happen where this hue-shifted version of Zero is going around being a pain in everyone's ass. Gate, some giant friggin' nerd or something, swears that he can solve all the problems in the world by bringing his dead friends back to life with the help of this weird older gentleman named Isaac, and he seems to know everything about Zero, and this is totally not villain behavior for the two of them. Alia thinks Gate is a sussy baka and sends X to go investigate Gate's investigators so they can gate a clue as to what the hell is going on. Alia gets Vietnam flashbacks for a few of the bosses and tells X how she murdered a man with her bare hands. But there's no time for that now, because after you kill enough nightmare viruses, Alia is like, I've seen enough hentai to know where this is going, and figures out that it's definitely Gate that's been doing all this creepy stuff like turning the lights on and off over and over again. Somehow, Palpatine has returned, and Zero shows up out of nowhere and is perfectly fine. I forgot to mention it, but Hymax is a thing, but he is literally not important. The king of all cosmos dips when he sees Gate is about to get wrecked, and then X and Zero wreck Gate. But Alia feels a little sad because maybe we were the monsters all along. At this point, faith in the Maverick Hunters is basically non-existent. They betrayed humanity once before, and the best they could do to save the planet was allow it to become a giant barren husk, which I guess is better than letting the whole damn thing explode. Either way, some people are taking the law into their own hands and they call themselves Red Alert, because their leader is named Red, which is a dumb name. There, I finally said it. Red's secret weapon is this kid who can turn into other Reploids after he kills them, which is a man-made horror beyond my comprehension. I mean, seriously, just imagine this kid comes and shoots you in the head and then all of a sudden he can take your face. Kinda creepy. But Axel is having second thoughts about all this murdering that he's doing because he's a frickin' teenager for crying out loud. So he runs away to join the circus that is the Maverick Hunters so that he can continue his murder spree, but legally this time. Red is pissed off and starts a custody battle for Axel. Meanwhile, X is burnt out, so he goes on hiatus, while Axel and Zero continue the tradition of killing off the entire animal kingdom in each game. X gets bored and wants to join, so now the two become 3 and head out to face off against Red. Red gets killed, but as always, Sigma was behind it, and wants to use Axel's Reploid no Jutsu ability to copy X and Zero so he can finally understand all of their mysteries. All 3 of them collectively tell Sigma to screw off and go home to go get a makeover. After losing a bunch of weight, X, Axel, and Zero are looking slick as hell, and watch as a bunch of next-generation Reploids all turn into an army of Sigmas, who swear to them like there is so totally nothing wrong about it. Don't worry, we're just turning into Sigma, and like everybody is doing it, man, so just chill, we're cool, we promise. Everyone is suspicious of this anyway, and go on a wild goose chase to stop some road next-gens that leads the trio to the moon, where
guess who's back again.
Sigmas.
Tell a friend.
And so they beat up Sigma, and then this Moon Twin comes out of nowhere, the same one from earlier, and he's like, Axel is just a prototype next gen, and X and Zero are just a bunch of boomers, get nay-nayed or something. So then he turns into an overly complex final boss form, and then gets beat again, but not before slapping Axel in the head with his tentacle, which then probably led to the most awkward elevator ride ever. Zero gets tired of this whole Maverick Hunter thing, and gets put to sleep so that people can study him and develop a cure for Mavericks, but like, for real this time. Once again, a crusty old dude messes everything up, and TLDR invents a reality-bending super weapon from Zero Systems, and then tries to take over the world with it. Zero gets woken up from his nap to tag team to Mother Elf and Omega with X, and then goes back to sleep with the most elaborate pressing of a snooze button I've ever heard of. X then has to use his body to hold back the remaining power of the Mother Elf, and it opens up his third eye and turns him into a Christmas tree topper. With X dead, the human governments use a genetically modified toddler genius to figure out how X works, and then they go and make a perfect copy of him with her, so that they can go shove him in as the president of the world and fix everything. Like any dumb kid who hasn't grown the hell up yet, he pretty much makes up a bunch of stupid rules that makes life super awesome for the humans, and basically terrible for Reploids. His crew of 4 dumbasses that look just like him are also a bunch of enablers, and none of them ever stop to tell him that maybe he's taking it too far. They are toxic and he needs new friends. Genetically modified genius baby Ciel decides that this is a bad thing, and goes to wake up Zero one more time, to please maybe stick around long enough to make sure that the world is actually safe. Ciel wakes him up, and over the course of 4 games, he single-handedly overthrows the entire government of the world, kills the bootleg copy of his best bro, and then beats up an old man in low Earth orbit before burning up in the atmosphere. Now that the Maverick virus is fully cured, the corrupt government is destroyed, and the planet is recovering and becoming inhabitable again, maybe X, Zero, and the 4 douchebags who let it happen can finally rest in peace. Nah, just kidding. Ciel turns him into talking rocks, and then some dude on her research team goes absolutely crazy, steals her credit for solving the energy crisis, and then the 6 talking rocks get scattered like the Dragon Balls, waiting for some plucky young boy or girl to come and find them and protect the world from evil, but only if they are pure of heart or something. As fate would have it, that sort of thing happens to either Vent or Ale as they inherit the powers of X, and then later Zero, and then they do the fusion dance and turn themselves into Mega Man Model ZX, as this franchise temporarily becomes a Kamen Rider spin-off. There's some more generic villain crap about taking over the world, and then Serpent gets his ass kicked by children. In the next game, it turns out the world government is actually kinda corrupt. I know that's hard to believe that the government can actually be corrupt, but this is fiction, so try to suspend your disbelief. A whole load of stupid anime plotline stuff happens as Albert, the least threatening sounding villain to date, explains that he is making a bunch of Mega Men fight together in a gigantic battle royale for some stupid reason. Anyway, Gray or Ash, whoever it is that you picked, managed to kick his ass with the help of Vent and Ale, and then the Lion-O-looking dude of the main government council is like, you know, maybe Albert was onto something, and then we fade to black. Okay, so all that stuff, forget about it. We're like 5,000 years in the future from that point now. There's a race of people called the Pure Humans who are living it up on a private moon they built called Elysium, and for some reason populated the Earth with things called carbons, which are basically artificial humans but still behave and act exactly like regular humans. The difference is that Pure Humans have absolutely no technology or cybernetics in their body, and carbons are a little bit of both. All the humans on Elysium are basically immortal, but just in case that they somehow all die, there's a backup plan to kill all the carbons on Earth and then replace them with clones of all the pure humans who can then live on the planet in peace. There's not a whole lot of info on why the hell they are doing this, but basically the Master, this really beautiful man with hair that makes Zero jealous, decides that maybe this is kind of unfair to the carbons, and thousands of years of controlling their population through surprise genocide every now and then is kind of frowned upon. He then tells his bestie, Mega Man Trigger, that he would like to visit Earth, and so they do. Then the Master dies because he can't survive outside of Elysium like some sort of pampered snowflake, and gives Trigger his dying wish to destroy the system, which keeps this backup plan in place. He realizes that the pure humans need to check their privilege, and it's time to let the carbons run the show if they want, without any more random purges of large swaths of their population every 100 years or so. Trigger is like, I bet, but Sarah, the second in command over Elysium, is confusion and doesn't understand why the hell the Master would want to do this. So she has herself a little freak out and tries to initiate the carbon reinitialization program because she thinks that's what the Master would have actually wanted, despite the fact that it came straight from his mouth. Trigger and Sarah have an epic Godzilla-style battle that we never get to see on screen, which ends in a stalemate. To keep himself from dying, Trigger reverts back to a baby form somehow and puts his most important memories inside of a robotic monkey named Data to keep it safe, who's basically like a VPN or something, so that if the Elysium system ever tried to poke around at his brain, they would realize that he has no thoughts head empty. Meanwhile, Sarah is also beaten to hell and back, so her partner Yuna, who has been trying to remain neutral in all of this, finally picks Trigger's side and seals Sarah away in stasis to prevent her from waking up and killing all the carbons. The stasis field actually causes a massive storm to form around the North Pole, which is now called Forbidden Island, meaning you probably shouldn't go there. But that's okay. That sign won't stop the caskets because they can't read. Fast forward like a bunch of years, like way too many years, and any airship that goes to Forbidden Island gets flipped like a pancake and crashes. until this young couple develops a special kind of ship that can survive the storm and lands on the island. Too bad they froze to death like idiots until Yuna was there to save them. But it must have been a Freaky Friday, because after saving the man and dropping him off with amnesia somewhere, Yuna ran out of to keep her body running, so she said, "Move over, I'm driving," and then took over the woman's body, putting her own body in stasis for safekeeping. Confused yet? Yeah, me too. After this happens, this old professor dude, yeah, there's a lot of these, finds Trigger while snooping around someplace he wasn't supposed to be. He adopts the kid and takes him back home and names him Rock, to be raised alongside his granddaughter, Roll, who, ta-da, is the daughter of the two explorers who managed to land on Forbidden Island, Banner and Matilda Casket. Rock and Roll grow up together as definitely not brother and sister, because that would make things later like totally freaking weird, and become a kick-ass team of diggers who go around raiding ancient ruins and recovering refractors, which are a power source which can be sold for money. One day, their adventure leads them to a tower out in the middle of the ocean. After stealing the refractor inside, Rock is chased up to the top of the tower and exits the chat. Their ship, the Flutter, experiences engine trouble and crashes on Cadillac's Island. Adventures ensue. Basically, the crew were trying to get parts to repair the Flutter, but a bunch of bumbling pirates happen to invade the island on the same day because they heard rumors that there's this big treasure hidden there or something. They want to get that bread, and I can't blame them. Tronbon, the mechanic of the pirate trio, catches feelings for Rock because he kicked a dog in front of her, and violence turns her on, I guess. She goes all Helga Pataki on Rock for most of the game as he continues to trash Tron, Teasel, and Bonbon's machines. Lo and behold, their adventuring leads them to opening up the final secret ruin someplace on the island, which holds Mega Man Juno, another Moon Twink, who recognizes Rock as none other than Mega Man Trigger and tells him that he is about to enter creative mode and delete everyone on the island. Rock escapes with the help of the pirates, who aren't so bad after all, and Rock defeats Juno. But Juno is like, "Haha, you fool, I have 70 alternate accounts!" and goes to transfer his mind to a backup computer where Data, your walking talking save point for the game, comes in and bans Juno from the server, and tells you that someday he will explain everything. Everybody goes their separate ways and fly off into the horizon for the sequel. Newsflash, this big rich dude built a massive friggin' ship that he swears can withstand the storm around Forbidden Island, and Roll took that personally. Suddenly, Roll sees her mom at the press conference on TV and, like everyone else, is extremely confused how she is there, so they set off to go get answers. Roll eventually finds a dude who has blueprints for the same kind of dropship her parents used and doesn't immediately put two and two together, but she builds the dropship anyway and sends Rock down to investigate. After fighting through a ridiculously cold landscape, Rock encounters a gigantic crystal thingy, and then some naked girl steps out of it. It's Sarah. Rock doesn't know who she is though, obviously, and Sarah uses this to her advantage, and tells Rock that the secret to the Mother Lode will be revealed if she just goes and gets these 3 special keys. Rock volunteers to go get them, and so the game begins. Rock does so without knowing any better, and steals a peek at Tron and Roll naked at least once along the way, bringing his saw a girl naked count up to 3, and returns like a good little boy to usher in the apocalypse as Sarah uses the 3 keys to activate that carbon-killing, human cloning system that they were originally fighting over last Thursday. Rock goes to Elysium with Yuna, who has a heaping serving of "I told you so" to give Rock, because she has literally been telling everyone that Sarah is the bad guy. But regardless, Rock makes it to Sarah and goes to settle their score from over 1,000 years ago. Rock beats some sense into Sarah, who got her mod roll on Elysium revoked, and unlocks her emotions, so now she understands everything. Rock prevents the carbons from dying, and the pure humans are left in their cloning thingy for that plot point to be resolved some other day. However, in the shuffle of things, every single space shuttle on Elysium was destroyed, and now Rock, Sarah, Yuna, and his girlfriend's mom are stuck on this stranded space station, making for the world's most extra light novel scenario ever. Back on Earth, Roll and Tron set aside their differences to try and build a rocket to go to Elysium, because apparently everybody forgot how to do that in the 1,000 or so years before this game takes place. And then, Mega Man Legends fans all around the world shed a single tear for Legends 3 and what could have been, as we gnash our teeth over the most unsatisfying, unresolved cliffhanger in all of human history. But maybe the Mega Man Legends were the friends we made along the way. And there you have it, the entire Mega Man timeline. Since I did this video which covers everything, I'm gonna assume you guys don't need any more episodes of Time Skimmer. So, I'm gonna consider this entire series dead, and I'm gonna start covering Sonic the Hedgehog lore. Thanks for watching, bye!